My name is Dr. Matthew Cole. I'm one of the lecturers here at the University of Exeter teaching competition law. But what is competition law and why is it important? To answer this question, imagine that you are in charge of an entire country. How do you make sure that your country, the people, the industries, produce products and services that work well, that people need, and then get them to those who need them? You could, of course, start giving orders to everyone, telling them what to make, how to make it, where to send it, and who to give it to. But most countries have millions of people, and each of these have different needs, and so it would just be far too slow and it doesn't work. So in most countries, we rely on competition. But this leads to the question, what is competition? Well, we've all experienced competitions in some way, whether in sport, in our exams, or perhaps in computer games or board games like chess. What usually unites all these things is the idea that those who perform best are rewarded in some way, perhaps with a prize or a trophy or something similar. It's exactly the same in an economy. Rather than having a single person or government department that tells everyone what to make, how to make it, and where to send it, we have competition. Or to put it another way, we have billions of competitions going on all the time, and the competition is to be able to satisfy the needs of your fellow man better than anyone else. So when you go to the supermarket and you want to buy a bag of sugar, although this may not seem very important, you're actually choosing the winner of a competition. That is, who can produce the best sugar at the best price and get it to the person who needs it. In this case, you. The prize for winning this competition is the money you pay the company that sells you the sugar and the profit they make from it. And it's not just sugar, it's everything we buy and trade, whether this means cars, airplanes, food, holidays, kitchens, plumbing services, or anything else. It's all part of a continual competition between the companies that make those goods and services. They compete, and the winner gets the custom of the person who pays for it. This concept is encapsulated well by Sam Walton, the businessman who co-founded Walmart in the United States. He said, "There is only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else." Generally, competition works extremely well. In most countries these days, there is an abundance of food, clothing, and other high-quality products and services which could only have been dreamt about by kings for most of human history. So where does the law come into all this? Well, the problem with any competition is that some people like to cheat. So, just like in the Olympics where you need people to check whether the athletes have been using performance-enhancing substances, or check that a runner doesn't cut a corner in a race, you need competition authorities to check companies are playing fair when competing against each other. This is where competition law comes in. My module focuses on the competition law of the European Union. In the European Union, there are rules to make sure that companies compete fairly against each other and don't cheat. The law doesn't use the word cheat, but it's a simple way to understand it. One of the main EU treaties is the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, which we call the TFEU. In this treaty, there is Article 101 and Article 102. What do these articles do? Article 101 prevents companies from making agreements that hurt us, the consumers. For example, if a number of companies got tired of always having to compete to provide the best products at the best prices, they might decide to get together and collude. They might decide that instead of trying to offer consumers the lowest prices, they might all agree to sell at the same high price. Can you imagine, for example, if you went to fill up your car with petrol, but no matter which station you went to, they all offered exactly the same high price? This might be wonderful from the perspective of the station owners. Their profits would be very high, but this would come at a cost because consumers would be losing out every time they buy. So to prevent this, Article 101 prohibits companies from making agreements that prevent, restrict, or distort competition. So if companies actually try to fix prices as I've just described, this would be illegal and those involved would be fined. It's a similar story with Article 102, but this time Article 102 is concerned with what we call dominant firm conduct. This isn't a number of companies working together. This is where one company is so powerful that it can undermine competition all on its own. You might wonder, how can a company distort competition all on its own? Well, imagine for a moment that there's a company that sells computer chips. Let's call it All Chips Limited. Now imagine that All Chips Limited has been around for a long time and has sold the same model of computer chip at a high price for a high profit. Now imagine a new company starts up. Let's call it New Chips Limited, which designs and produces a new computer chip that is a bit better and a bit cheaper. Consumers will start buying from New Chips Limited and stop buying the ones from Old Chips Limited, and this puts Old Chips Limited in an awkward position. In an ideal world, they would choose to compete. They might drop the price of their product, or they would innovate in some way to find a chance to improve their offering so that they can draw customers back to them. But unfortunately, they might choose to do neither of these things, and instead they may try to abuse their dominant position, which is a legal way of saying they might try and cheat. Imagine, for example, instead of dropping their prices a little, they drop them so low that they are actually losing money on every computer chip they sell. Now, this is terrible for New Chips Limited because it means that either they have to significantly drop their own prices, in which case they'll be losing money too, or they have to keep their prices higher, in which case customers will leave them and go back to Old Chips Limited. Either way, eventually they will end up going bankrupt. For Old Chips Limited, while they are losing money, this won't be such a big problem because they have plenty of money in the bank, stored up from many years where they were charging high prices. So for them, it becomes a waiting game. They keep their prices low until their competition goes bankrupt, and then they can put their prices back up just as high as they were before. As you can see in this scenario, All Chips Limited manages to defeat its competitor not by producing better products or offering a sustainably low price, but by making use of the vast cash reserves that it has built up over the years to push New Chips Limited out of the market. What I've described here is called predatory pricing, and it's illegal thanks to Article 102. Another practice that can cause problems for competition is a merger. Mergers can be used for perfectly good reasons. Companies might legitimately want to expand their operations or acquire new sets of skills and technology that are currently owned by other companies. But there are also very bad reasons companies may wish to merge. One reason that has been of particular concern recently is the so-called killer acquisition. What is a killer acquisition, you may ask? Imagine there's a very profitable tech company, perhaps a social media company, called Friendslist. This company has billions of users around the globe. Now imagine a new startup comes along called HappyChat. HappyChat is grown very quickly, and even though it only has a couple of million users at the moment, it is getting more popular by the day. Friendslist becomes worried that in future HappyChat may become a real source of competition, and since it doesn't want to have to compete, it comes up with a way to cheat. Friendslist decides to simply buy the startup before it gets big enough to become a major competitor. Even though HappyChat has very low levels of profit at the time, Friendslist may make an exceptionally generous offer to buy the company for billions of pounds. Now, of course, from the perspective of those who own HappyChat, this might be a very good thing. They may well become millionaires or even billionaires at a very young age. But for consumers, this is not so good because now the choice is gone. When there were two companies, every customer had the choice of two different companies from which to pick. Now, Whichever service they pick, they're stuck with the same supplier, friends list. And this means if friends list isn't a very good company to do business with, customers lose out. This is why competition law regulates mergers. If one company wishes to buy another, they usually first need to ask permission from the competition authorities. These authorities will check to make sure customers will still have other choices before agreeing to let the merger go ahead. And this is where we reach the heart of competition law. By keeping markets free and fair, competition law helps make the economy work for everyone. Companies that are big and those that are small. Those that are established and those that are startups. And of course, it makes the economy work for us, the consumers. So, next time you're in the supermarket and you're choosing which breakfast cereal or which brand of tea to buy, just think, that decision is one of trillions being made every day by ordinary individuals like you and me that help guide the economy and make it as effective as possible. And behind the scenes, competition law is working to protect our freedom to choose the products and services that work best for us. Competition law is a module that could be taken on a number of our master's programs, including International Commercial Law, and the Specialist Competition Law program. Thank you for listening.